Meanwhile, in Oakland, California, in a middle-class neighborhood, Rob Manfred is caught in the act of something nefarious. Say goodbye, Oakland fans, to your baseball team, to your hopes, to your dreams. Maybe take up pickleball.
Where are you taking my team?
To Vegas, and you can't stop us. To land of opportunity and luxury boxes and suites. Just ignore the fact that MLB has a history of hating gambling. We don't really know what hypocrisy means.
But this has been my baseball team for all my life. My dad took me to games before he died.
Now your dreams are dead, just like your dad.
It's not fair. We supported the team our whole lives. Then they traded everyone and doubled the prices. I have 3 kids to feed.
You should have stopped it too. Anyway, we are history. I've even got Golden Knights season tickets. Really great seats, by the way, right on the glass. If you wouldn't mind leaving, you're stinking up the room with your pathetic poorness. And don't forget, I know we did raise merch prices by 30% this season, but because I'm such a nice guy, we will be offering a 25% discount at the end of the year. Our blowout sale, because I'm a giver. Get it while you can. Now, move along.
Twitchy Dolphin Media presents Let's Get To. It's baseball from sea to shining sea by the team that brings you home. And now, your host, James Christopher.
Great Texan Kenny Rogers once said, you gotta know when to hold 'em, you gotta know when to fold 'em, and that actually does not apply to anything in this episode. I've always just wanted to have it in a monologue. However, we do often say that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, and the cliche that's actually probably most appropriate to this show is, you win some and you lose some. You know, strikes and gutters, Big Lebowski? No one? All right.
Oh, strikes and gutters, ups and downs. Sure, I've got you.
Well, over the last week or so, the baseball world sure did giveth, and unfortunately, it took a big something away from us. First things first, some positive. Now, one of the best stories to come out of minor league baseball in a while is the story of Drew Maggi. Now, Drew spent 13 years in minor league baseball to finally get a call-up with the Pittsburgh Pirates, the first place Pittsburgh Pirates so far. There's so many wonderful things to glean from minor league baseball stories of triumph and perseverance, and this is certainly one of those. Now, I always joke with some of my filmmaker buddies that anyone can make one movie. It's easy to decide that you have the ego to get out there and tell a story. It's also super easy to decide halfway through that this is hard. Then you either quit halfway through your movie without ever getting it finished, leaving some poor actors having worked for nothing, or you just never make a second one. And trust me, there's a lot of quitters out there. It's a special person that can get into the gauntlet one more time, bet on himself or herself, and try again. I cannot imagine doing 13 years of minor league baseball waiting for your shot. So the story out of Pittsburgh is really inspiring and something that we can all learn from and get inspired by. Making it to the show with minor league baseball is a gauntlet like no other. All you have to do is look at the book The Arena that we reviewed a few episodes ago to learn and see how difficult that process really is, or watch the movie Bull Durham, or read the book about the making of Bull Durham. Drew's story is all about perseverance, going through different organizations only to get a shot at a dream so many of us have or have had or have something like, and getting that shot's what it's all about. The added bonus was seeing how happy his teammates were for him. There are only so many shots to get to the show, and for those guys to celebrate him, knowing that, honestly, they now have one fewer shot to make their own dream come true, is really heartwarming and the best part of this sport. And so, after 13 seasons, after 1,155 games, 4,494 plate appearances, God knows how many peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, Drew finally got his AB in the majors. We all need a little bit of that grit, a little bit of that drive that Drew has. We all need it in us. I think the world would be a much better place. Now, another piece of good news came out of Richmond, where we learned that the Flying Squirrels are going to be getting a new ballpark as part of a new diamond district that will feature shops, hotels, basically an all-inclusive ballpark experience. The Flying Squirrels are one of the most iconic brands in minor league baseball, and I'm super excited to see them staying put in Richmond. And a bunch of us are already starting to make plans to make sure that we can attend the inaugural year of the new park in 2026. So the baseball gods gaveth to Richmond, gaveth to Drew. However, those same gods ignored the pleas of Oakland Athletics fans. We're going to be talking a lot about this story on this episode, but I just want to start by sending out my heartfelt condolences to the fan of the Oakland A's. That's a great fan base, everybody. Every so often, sports will remind us that this is a game between billionaires and millionaires, and we thousandaires, the fans of the sport, are the ones who are never expected to be able to offer an opinion, but are expected to carry all of the freight. And then poof, your team, your connection to the game, is just gone. But after following the story of the A's in Oakland for the last few years, it has become clear to this baseball show host that the government and the city of Oakland, nor Major League Baseball, really wanted to keep the A's in Oakland. Oakland wanted the team to stay without doing any real level of investment in the infrastructure that, frankly, would have benefited the city. And no matter what the owner says, the A's wanted to leave for shinier, glitzier pastures. And make no mistake, Major League Baseball wanted Oakland to move to Vegas to get access to another big TV market, because they still have the Bay Area. So now the Giants will simply take that whole space, and now you get another spot for MLB to get some revenue. This also opens the door for expansion into cities like Portland and Nashville or Montreal. I don't think it's Montreal. And we'll talk much more about expansion later. I'm always excited about the prospect, although, I don't think we need another team in Montreal. But like when you throw a stone into a lake, there's going to be ripples of unintended consequences. At the end of July, we're going to be making our way to Las Vegas to see the Aviators. And you've already started hearing debate about whether the Aviators will survive the presence of an MLB team in the same city. Now, 5 years ago, it would have been a no-brainer. The owners of the Aviators would have to pack up and fly to a new city, set up shop, and hopefully start building another relationship with the community. But since contraction, a lot has changed in minor league baseball. Chief among those changes, the proximity of parent clubs to their affiliates. Now, just to name a few, the following MLB teams and their affiliates are within 100 miles of each other. We picked 100 miles because it's close and super drivable. You have the Astros and the Space Cowboys, the Angels and the Inland Empire 66ers, the Mariners in both the Tacoma Rainiers and the Everett Aqua Sox, the Rangers and the Frisco Rough Riders, the Tigers and the Toledo Mud Hens, the Twins and the St. Paul Saints, the Mets and the Brooklyn Cyclones. The Phillies are within 100 miles of three of their affiliates, the Iron Pigs, the Fightin' Phils, and the Blue Claws. Heck, even the Toronto Blue Jays in Canada, they're only 96 miles away from their AAA team in Buffalo, New York. Go Bisons. So as you can see, there's so much to parse through this story, so much to be concerned about, and maybe not as much to be concerned about as we think right now. And there's going to be a long way to go before we get any kind of real answers, both on the timetable of the relocation and the future of the Aviators. A long time for lots of conjecture. But to borrow a phrase from Las Vegas, baseball in Oakland rolled to snake eyes. And no, I don't mean a kind of meh Nicolas Cage movie. But one thing is sure is that there will be baseball in Las Vegas, Nevada for the foreseeable future. We don't know if the Athletics and the Aviators can coexist. We don't know if the Las Vegas team's still going to be called the Athletics. Now, Las Vegas does have a lot of names. They're the Glitter Gulch, the City That Never Sleeps, Gluttony Central, the marriage capital of the world. They're going to have baseball. The same can't be said for Oakland diehard baseball fans, the same ones who cheered on the Bash Brothers, the same ones from the Moneyball era that saw those teams change baseball. They just found out, in about the cruelest way possible, that their local 9 is hitting the bricks. So if we've learned anything from this episode, the baseball gods giveth, and the baseball gods taketh away.
Ladies and gentlemen, please adjust your scorecards. We have a special guest in the lineup.
All right, so we're super excited to have on the show to talk a little bit about the Oakland Athletics moving. It's our favorite A's fan, longtime friend of the show, Stu Clary, host of your Vacaville. Oh my God, I forgot the mascot, Stu.
Vacaville. Come on, James.
Vacaville. All right. Well, Stu, first of all, how's the ball club looking this year?
Yeah, we're having a pretty good year. We're 11 and 3 in league right now. One game left. If we win, then we get it at minimum a share of the pennant. So yeah, we're looking pretty good. We're getting ready for the playoffs to start.
Well, like we said earlier, you are the massive A's fan. We've spoken to you through all kinds of. I mean, I remember we talked to you during the fire a few years ago. Tell me a little bit, first of all, about just how you guys heard of the final news about the move and sort of your initial take on it.
So we had a press release or not even a press release, a news was leaked that the A's had purchased land or made an agreement to purchase land in Las Vegas, just off the Strip, purportedly to build a stadium to ultimately move the club to Las Vegas. The leak happened late at night. The timing was kind of interesting, something we might talk about in a few minutes. And I'll believe it when shovels hit the ground. The A's they bought land in Fremont, which I know we're all over the country right now. Fremont is basically halfway between Oakland and San Jose. They bought property there to build a stadium. They had an agreement to build in downtown San Jose, which the Giants blocked. There's been several proposals for stadium sites in Oakland proper, which the ownership has screwed up in one way or another. So I'll believe it when I see it.
So okay, let's talk a little bit about then the timing of the announcement, and I guess does your skepticism of believing it when you see it because of all those previous failed attempts to do something?
Yes, over the years, it's been a very long saga. I think probably if you're tuning into this, the Let's Take Two podcast, you're probably aware the A's have been in Oakland since 1968. They played in the same stadium since, which is the last, multi-use stadium. It was also home of the Raiders. And while it's seen its share of winning games and seen its share of championships, both in baseball and football, it's certainly outlived its usefulness.
Right.
What we like to say is it's a crap hole. I'll paraphrasing. It's a crap hole, but it's our crap hole. So there's been just ongoing attempts to find a new home for the A's. And every time we would see a rendering and we'd get all excited, someone would throw the wet blanket on and just say, I'll believe it when shovels hit the dirt. And I still feel that way. So let me back up a minute, James.
Yeah. So
the state of the team. The A's are owned by John Fisher, who is one of the top 3 richest, as far as personal wealth, richest owners in Major League Baseball.
Oh.
He is what he did to earn his money was be born to the right family. His parents founded the Gap. So if you go shopping at Gap or Old Navy or I can't remember the other one, another similar clothing.
Express, right? Or something maybe?
Banana Republic.
Banana Republic. There you go.
Then what you're doing is you're handing John Fisher your money. He is certainly not, he's not hurting for money. He's a multi-billionaire with a B. Very, very wealthy man from a very wealthy family.
Now, real quick, is he the same guy from Moneyball? Is he the same?
No,
Okay,
that was Steve Schott, who was a real estate developer. He got the team from Schott. John Fisher also owns the San Jose Earthquakes of the Major League Soccer. They have a relatively brand new stadium in San Jose. So a new stadium in the very heart of Silicon Valley, an area flush with corporate sponsorship money and people looking to spend money. This should be a premier franchise in MLS. It is not, and they have one of the lowest payrolls in MLS. So thinking that John Fisher is going to have changed the way he does business, just because he has a new stadium is folly. We've seen what he does with a new stadium. The proof is in the pudding. What John Fisher has done is he sold off an all-star team basically of players, and yet he doubled the ticket prices. And so here's and let me back up again. If you're an Oakland A's fan, you're used to rebuilds. You're used to, there's no such thing as a lifetime A.
Right.
There's been 6 numbers retired by the A's, and none of them were lifetime A's. Ricky Henderson played for, umpteen numbers of teams. Reggie Jackson, you think of him an A, but his numbers been retired by the Yankees. He was also an Angel. Dennis Eckersley's numbers retired by the A's, but he was an Indian and a Red Sox. Raleigh Fingers, he was also a Brewer and a Padre. So, and if you keep going, I mean, this is the team that they dismantled their 3 World Series winners in a row in the 70s. If you're an A's fan, you're used to them jettisoning players. But
they're famous for trying to give Reggie Jackson a pay cut because even though he had more home runs in a season, his average went down.
Right. Anything to save a buck. Our franchise has been saddled with terrible ownership. It's been in Oakland for 55 years. There was a 6-year window during what we call the Bash Brother era when Canseco and McGuire were at their just getting into the league, where we were owned by the Haas family. The Haas family were the founders of the Levi's. So again, very wealthy, but Walter Haas, who owned the team, saw himself as a steward of the community and put money back in. He had high payroll. Well, during those years when we knew that they were committed to Oakland and to winning, you can go back and look, the late 80s, early 90s, Oakland was perennial top draw. We were in the top 5 in attendance annually. What the current ownership has done, here's the analogy I'll use. Let's say he owned a restaurant instead of a baseball team. And in that restaurant, he was known for serving the finest beluga caviar and Kobe beef.
Okay.
And what he did was, because he had a nice following, he raised his prices substantially on the menu. But after he did that, he got rid of the caviar, he got rid of the fine steaks, and instead he's got Star-Kissed tuna and hamburger helper. If that happened, logically, people would stop going to the restaurant and everyone would blame the owner because you made a stupid business decision. Well, that's basically what he's done with the A's roster. I think if he was fielding a team that saw Sean Murphy behind the plate and Olsen at first and Kemp at second base and Simeon and Chapman on the left side of the infield with Ramon Laureano and Starling Marte, Mark Canna in the outfield, and the pitchers would trade away Bassett, Minaya, Frankie Montas, Jesus Luzardo. That team would probably be winning its share of games.
Sure.
But he got rid of those guys, got very little return, but he literally doubled the ticket prices. That's not the customer's fault. So people aren't going to games now. But that feeds the narrative that the Oakland fans either will not or cannot support the team or somehow don't deserve a team.
Right.
We know that's not true. This is the customer speaking now. So there's a movement that I was a part of that's gained a lot of traction, actually drew national headlines just last week. We thought of, let's fill up the stadium on a random Tuesday night. to show, hey, we're here and we'll support the team. We picked Tuesday because that's traditionally the least attended game of the week.
Yep.
And we picked a date in June because school is out, so kids can go. It won't be a school night. And also we picked the specific date, June the 13th, because they're not playing the Giants, they're not playing the Red Sox, they're not playing the Yankees, which are the big drawing games.
Right. Totally.
So we're playing the Rays that night, and we plan on packing the stadium. Typically, if you count butts and I know they count ticket price sales, but if you count butts and seats, there'll probably be 2,000 people there. It's terrible. But if we can get 10,000, 15, 20, 25, 30,000 people there, it's going to generate headlines. It's going to show the media, both nationally and locally. It's going to show Major League Baseball, the other 29 owners, that, hey, we're here, we're ready to go. Give us a product that we want to spend our money on. And the funny thing is, it was not lost on anyone that when this idea gained traction and started getting national headlines. I mean, I was quoted in the New York Times last week. Well, the next day, this news of Las Vegas stadium purchase was leaked. They're trying to take the wind out of our sails.
Yeah, there are no coincidences, right? Like
there are no coincidences, and they read everything, they see everything. So that's kind of where we're at. Again, I'll believe it when I see it. We just hope to go out on June 13th, have a blast, get the tailgating going, have you come out, stay at my house with me. We do a remote for my tailgate in lot A. Come on, James, you can do that.
Hey, you know what? A Tuesday in June, I might be able to work that out.
Beautiful.
I'll take a look at it. I'd love that.
That's kind of where we're at right now. There's a lot of raw emotion out there, sadness, anger, angst, everything. A lot of people think they're gone. Personally, like I said, I'll believe it when
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the city have any culpability in this?
Not being an insider, I can't say definitively. My gut says no one is innocent. I think the vast majority of the blame falls on ownership.
Sure.
And Oakland has trouble paying police officers. They can't be expected to give $1 billion to a billionaire to build a stadium.
Yeah.
So
how much of it too is, I mentioned in my opening about this on today's episode or the episode you're in, that some of it's MLB wants that other market, right? Like this is a TV thing as much as it's anything.
I'm wondering, but that's funny you should say that, because the Bay Area is, I think, the 5th biggest media market in the country. Las Vegas is number 45.
Yeah.
The Bay Area is home to many dozens, if not hundreds, of multi-billion-dollar corporations that are ready to buy luxury boxes and to help sponsor the team. I don't know what businesses or corporations are based in Las Vegas.
But I think my point is they're going to count on a certain degree of people becoming Giants fans. That they're not losing that media market.
I'm wondering. Well, I'll tell you, the vast majority of A's fans will never become Giants fans. It would be more likely that they follow the team to Vegas, which that won't happen either. I'm wondering how happy the Angels, Dodgers, and Padres are, and for that matter, the Diamondbacks, about giving all of Northern California to the Giants. If I'm one of the owners, I'd be very reluctant to sign off on that. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe they're testing the waters to try and get a expansion team to Las Vegas. Maybe they are, what I think is happening is they're trying to use Las Vegas to try and get Oakland to pony up more money, playing one against the other. Sure wouldn't be the first time that's happened. There's all kinds of possibilities. I'm not sure that how much blame there is to put on the city.
Okay, so let's look at this. If it happens, the other thing people aren't really factoring in is the ripple effect, right? You've got the Stockton Ports now. Are they still going to be a minor league team? Do the Aviators, do they get to stay and embrace this close proximity that we see out of like Sugarland in Houston, or are they going to have to uproot?
Yeah, it's again. I think that the status quo will remain. I think there's still going to be an Oakland As, but that's just maybe wishful thinking. Maybe the denial stage of grief. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, as we get out of here, then repeat exactly where do people need to go? How can people find out about this this thing on June 13th?
Yeah, June 13th. Plenty of good seats available. The stadium holds nearly 50,000 people. We're not going to sell it out, but we sure do want to give it a good try. Just please come out. You don't have to be an A's fan. I got a load of Giants fan friends that are going to be going. If you know, around, I know that you have people are watching this all over the country. Come visit the Bay Area. Beautiful time of year. Come out, enjoy a ball game. Come by my tailgate in Lot A, and maybe you'll see James and I sharing a beer together.
Ladies and gentlemen, please adjust your scorecards. We have a special guest in the lineup.
And we are continuing our discussion of the Oakland Athletics. And joining us right now is no stranger to the discussions of minor league baseball. He has got the best lid-themed baseball show out there, EdRivera of the Dad Hat Chronicles. First of all, Ed, how's it going? Minor league baseball is well underway. You having a good time?
Oh my God, I love baseball. Have I told you that? I love baseball. I'm glad it's back. It was like it's like a piece of you was missing during winter, and then when it's finally back, you're like super happy that it's back. That's how I am right now. I'm so giddy right now. I'm telling you.
Couldn't agree more. It feels like you fake your way through it, and then when it's back, you don't recognize, oh, okay, yeah, this is amazing. Now look, what was not amazing for a lot of people in the Oakland area. And honestly, like, look, I think you could call it a nationwide brand. I think that there's been enough eras of Oakland athletics baseball that they've grown their thing. Look, you and I have actually been on Team They're Leaving for well over a year now.
Yep.
Your first impression when you saw the press release, and we had Stu on just now, and I think he's being hopefully optimistic that they're going to stay, and I understand and appreciate that. Where are you when it comes to that?
I'm going to say this first. My brother, my younger brother, he is a huge Oakland A's fan. Like, he became a fan when like McGuire was there, Canseco was there, right? Like, so he's known the A's for a long time. And I had this discussion with him, and I asked him, I was like, how do you feel about it? And he's the same way. He's like, I still think that they might stay, I think so, but I think he's finally coming around. I'm of the thinking that we picked a long time ago already that they're leaving. The owner and Major League Baseball, they were working behind the scenes of trying to make Oakland a bad market in order for them to go into Vegas. That was, and I will die on this cross saying that this is what they were doing all along.
Man, I can't do anything but agree. And look, I'm not an Oakland Athletics devotee. But it does seem like they made some of those trades like Chapman when they had plenty of years of control left. Maybe I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, people can definitely correct me. It does feel like, and again, because you haven't seen Stu's interview yet, he said not only do they cut all those players, but then they doubled the prices for fans.
I was just going to say the same thing. It was, okay, so what the owner is doing is he's not putting any money in the stadium, right? He's raising the prices of ticket and concessions and all that. And then on top of that, you're putting a AAA and sometimes some AA players on that major league roster.
Something like it's an Atlantic League team. It's like,
right. That's what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that you want, and then on top of that, you double down and you blame the fans for not coming to watch that. I wouldn't come either. I'll be honest with you. And I'm a Guardians fan. Listen, I listen, you already know it's been well documented that I am not a fan of the owner of the Cleveland Guardians. But the Oakland A's was like, hold my beer, here I come. You know what I'm saying?
And the other thing too is I remember when the Astros were tanking and rebuilding, tickets were $5. Like they acknowledged the product isn't what it should be. They still wanted people to come, and frankly, people came. I mean, obviously, it wasn't what it goes now, but it does seem like the owner had an agenda. Major League Baseball had an agenda. I also feel like though the city didn't really put up that much of an effort and I don't know how much you followed that part of it, but it seems like both sides, anytime it came close to a compromise, somebody would push the goalpost.
And politics got in the way. Let's be honest about that, right? Like I think that everybody was trying to make their mark as a tough politician and all that, so that got in the way. It is also very telling when you're having your first team to leave was the Oakland Raiders, then you have the Golden State Warriors leaving, right? And then now you have the Oakland Athletics. I'm like I said, I'm on the belief that they are leaving. Right, this is a done deal. That's been done. You don't spend $1.6 billion on a piece of dirt, right? To just say, "Oh, just kidding, guys. We're not really leaving. We're just, pushing Oakland to spend more money." No.
I mean, again, I think you're correct. I think it's sad. I think, I think it's another example that we've seen. I mean, you and I haven't known each other that long, and we've seen 5 to 6 examples of when it comes down to it, the people who pay for the sport, you and me, are not listened to, and we're along for this ride that we're paying for.
Absolutely.
Let's break it down to the minor league thing. And again, the opening of the show, I talked about how I don't think this is necessarily the death of the Aviators. I think that we've demonstrated, and I'll pull up the graphics later on, but I think 7 miles separates Minnesota and St. Paul. It can work. And with the Aviators not being in Vegas proper, do you feel like you can make that work, or do you feel like it's a done deal that the Aviators will relocate?
No, I think it's not a done deal, right? I'm because also you can look at Minnesota, not Minnesota. I'm sorry, the Seattle Mariners. Yeah, and the Rainiers, right? I mean, they're still within that 25-mile radius, so they can, they have made it work for so long. Yeah, like you said, Minnesota Twins and the St. Paul Saints, they came into an agreement, and then both of them are surviving just fine.
Yeah, Astros and Sugarland, 17 miles separate them. Yeah,
I've had conversations even with, there's a group here in Raleigh that is looking to push for bringing a major league team here instead of Charlotte. Right, everybody's talking about Charlotte, but Charlotte can't afford to. They don't have any land to put a major league baseball team, so Raleigh is the next obvious one, right? But there's like, oh, what about minor leagues? And then they give out all these answers, and like they've been able to survive. I think there is going to be this time period in which they might be sharing, a stadium, because I think that Oakland burned those bridges. They nuclear bombed the hell out of the relationship with Oakland. I think this is their last year, and then they're going to start possibly looking at moving into a temporary situation, like when the Montreal Expos left. They were playing in Puerto Rico, they were playing in DC, going back and forth and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and maybe they get together and they figure out the schedule to share even the Aviators ballpark. There's a bunch of different ways that this can go. I think the positive to come out of it, though, is I'm a big fan of the idea of expansion for baseball. I think a 32 team league makes so much more sense than the 30 league. As we kind of get close to wrapping up, then where do you want to see? Let's assume Tampa's going to live somewhere in Tampa.
Yeah, I think they're not moving. I think Tampa's staying.
I think they're going to figure out a way to put the stadium in actual Tampa Bay, so that way
instead of St. Pete. Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
And people dog Tampa all the time, but the fact is it's not easy to get to that park.
No, it's not. It's hard. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And let's say the Oakland A's are now going to be the Las Vegas. I was going to say the Las Vegas Aces, but they would steal that from Reno. I don't think so.
That, and then the WNBA already owns that.
Yeah. So maybe, it should be like the Las Vegas clubs, the Las Vegas baseball clubs.
Yeah. the Jacks, the Vegas
yeah.
Jacks.
They've got to do something like that. The Vegas Snake Eyes.
I'll say this, like, it's so sad though, right, to see the Athletics brand disappear, because I don't see them going from Philly to Kansas City to Oakland, and then Oakland to Vegas, excuse me, and keep the same name.
I just don't either. And I think what we've learned from the Guardian situation is they're not going to pass up on the opportunity to do a drastic rebrand and sell stuff. And I don't see them doing that. I think the Raiders was a different deal altogether.
That's a different. That actually fits Vegas, right? Raiders fits Vegas, so that was silver and gold and black, and so it fits Vegas. I think, as far as your question though, as far as expansion, I agree. I think it's a 32 team league is a much better idea. I don't know why, but I really like Nashville as one of them. I'm not sold on, like, all of a sudden there was this push for Utah to get a team, and they're looking to do an outdoor stadium, and I'm like, that is such a
weird
bad idea.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
First of all, every park has to have a retractable roof from now on, whether you want to close it or not.
100% agree.
Yeah. Like the whole thing. Yeah. The Salt Lake City thing was weird to me. I don't see Montreal getting another one. Like, it didn't work the first time.
Yeah. It's sad, right? Because you kind of want to see them get one because of the Expos. It's such a
one of the
classic
best
brand.
looking.
Still to this day, it's one of the classic logos out there, right? Their uniforms, everything.
Yeah.
I don't see them getting one either. There has to be, I mean, I think I might be biased on this, right? But I kind of want to see a Carolina team here. We are in a market that is fastly growing, right? Financially, population wise and everything is fastly growing. And then, Raleigh is one of those cities where it's, such a big market, TV market, without a major league team. And I'll say the top three, right? NFL, NBA, and Major League, right? We have a hockey team here, right? Which is doing absolutely wonderful, but is not the top three. And I think that if you were to put one here, I think it would do well. Yes, I know. Durham is here. The Mudcats are here. You got all these other teams around here.
Durham cannot move, right? Like, Durham is that's a more iconic brand than some MLB teams.
100%.
100%.
So I think there's going to be that relationship that, like, if there's an expansion, maybe look into having Durham as the AAA team, just like, St. Paul and with the Saints and the Twins, right? So there could be that relationship there. So those are my two cities.
Yeah,
I'm probably completely off, but
the whole thing though, I think that you're right. And I think the other thing we have to, when we discuss this whole, like, two teams, one market, we have to acknowledge the fact that Major League Baseball games aren't for normal people anymore.
It's a social event.
Yeah, well, but I'm saying I think they're priced out for people. They're priced out. Like, the people that are choosing a minor league game, it's because they can't afford to go to a major league game. Yeah.
Like, if you have a family, here, for example, for my family of three, you're telling me that you're going to tell me I'm going to spend how much money on tickets, then parking, then concessions? I'm $300, $400, $500 already in for that one night.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, and I don't have kids, and it's still like, we have to make a decision. Is this what we're going to do? So
I'll give the money to the minor leagues all day long.
Yeah. And I just don't see it. I don't think it's as mutually exclusive as it was 5 years ago. I think now that MLB teams are about TV markets and corporate sponsorships, I don't think it's that out of the realm of possibility that you can keep your minor league team closer and both can coexist. I think we've seen enough evidence of it. Before we wrap up, talk to the people. Where can some of the people see you on the road? Because I know that you got some trips.
Yeah, man. Listen, I got this cool trip coming up to this one place called Omaha. Super excited. We're going to be there, celebrating with you and all that. But here's how this trip is going to happen, right? I'm going to fly from Raleigh to Denver. I'm going to meet up with Paul Caputo. You guys might know that guy,
Oh yeah.
And then we're going to drive, right, from Denver to Omaha. All right. We're going to be there for the day and night and all that, hang out, have some fun, couple beers and all that good stuff. watch a great baseball game, hang out with some friends. The
And
next
it's also
day,
a take me out to the ball game night. It's
what,
cat night.
what?
Yeah, I can't wait. It's gonna be
What?
hell. But we're
Meow.
yeah.
And then the next day, I'm renting a car and driving to Kansas City to watch a Royals game with Eric Prophet of the Earn Fun Average podcast and his brother. So we're going to have some fun. And then that night, I fly back home.
You have to report on that Kansas City trip because the Royal Stadium's been like, we have tried to get out there so many times. It's so, just watching it on TV, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, here's EdRivera. Make sure you're following and listening to the Dad Hat Chronicles. Ed, thanks so much for jumping on Let's Get To, man.
Hey, thank you for having me, my friend.
All right, I have another favor to ask you.
And now, on to close it out, the right-hander from Houston, Texas, James Christopher.
And that does wrap up this special episode of Let's Get To. I want to thank Stu and Ed for hopping on to share their views on the whole Oakland situation. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways this story could go. Nobody really knows, actually. Now, relocation is one of the ugly parts of sports. And a student of mine who's not really interested in sports, doesn't know the history, didn't really get the concept that a team could just move. Obviously, we've seen that happen. Houston, Cleveland, LA, twice, 2 teams to LA, really? They went from nothing to 2. Anyway, now speaking of my students, I want to thank my broadcasting kids for helping us find the data on the distance between parent clubs and their minor league affiliates. Hopefully, it's enough circumstantial evidence to maybe give some pause to the idea that the situation in Las Vegas is going to work out in the worst possible ways. I think there's many a slip twixt a cup and a lip. It could still work out the way I think it will, actually. Now, we're back next week. We're going to be visiting with our old friends, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. And now this weekend, we're off to celebrate the 5th anniversary of Let's Get To. Cannot wait to get to Omaha. We hope we see a bunch of you out there, honestly, tomorrow. So thanks for checking out this week's dual episodes, because I guess when it comes to episodes of this show, Let's Get To.
Let's Get To is presented by Twitchy Dolphin Media.
Creative directors, Jessica Bybee-Jedgetts. Executive producers, James Christopher, Andy Tomchesin, and Scott McIntyre. Produced by Andrew Nelson and Eric Mertens. Associate producers, Timothy Jedgetts and Jess Canaster. All content created by Let's Get To is the sole property of Twitchy Dolphin Media. All content created by teams covered in the episode are the sole property of the trademark holders.